Hi everyone, Mike King from Profiling Evil. I had the opportunity tonight to join Vinnie on Court TV. We're talking about the Derek Chauvin case. This is the homicide trial in the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. This has been complicated by the untimely and horrible death of Daunte Wright, a young man who was killed in the suburbs of Minneapolis, igniting a couple of nights now of violence and protests in those communities. I'm joined by former police officer Anthony Ested, and we're going to be talking about some of the dynamics that's going on there. Why don't you listen in?
So when they brought Mr. Floyd to the ground, are you saying you don't consider that to be a use of force?
Up to that point, it was still a use of force, yes.
Okay. Once Mr. Floyd is on the ground, in your opinion, does there continue to be some level of resistance by Mr. Floyd?
Yes.
How would you describe that?
Active resistance. He was still struggling against the efforts of the officers. And I saw on one of the body cam videos that Mr. Floyd appeared to kick at Officer Lane.
All right, when we come back, we'll bring in our law enforcement professionals and talk about what's happening inside the courtroom and outside the courthouse in Minneapolis. That is next.
You're trained that your duty weapon is on your dominant side and your taser is on your non-dominant side. And why is that? Because it's foreseeable that in an exigent situation, if the taser is beside the gun, you might pull the wrong thing. But after 26 years, you would think that you know what side your gun is on and what side your taser is on. You know the weight of your gun and you know the weight of the taser. You know the gun is black. You know the taser is going to have some reflective color on it. And so it is unacceptable.
That's Attorney Ben Crump talking about the shooting death of Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center, which is very close to Minneapolis. It's just outside of Minneapolis, where the Derek Chauvin trial has taken place. This then takes place. We're going to talk about it with our law enforcement professionals here on Crime Time. Let's introduce tonight's guest. Joining us, retired police officer Anthony Ested. Anthony served 16 years in law enforcement. He was a police detective in the Richmond City Police Department. During his time in law enforcement, he worked on the Property Crimes Unit, investigating burglaries and thefts of property. He also served in the Patrol Division with the New York City Department of Corrections. Also with us, retired police commander and investigator Mike King. Mike serves as the Global Director of Emergency Communications and Fraud Solutions at Esri, and Mike has served more than 4 decades in law enforcement and is the author of a new book, Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. Mike and Anthony, great to have you both back on the program. I want to begin with the shooting death of Daunte Wright, and we're going to show everyone the body cam footage tonight and take a look at it. And one of the big issues in this case seems to be that the officer believes that she's holding a taser when she's holding her service weapon. Let's take a look. All right, Anthony, I want to start with you. We see Daunte right there failing to comply and getting away from the officers, getting back into the car. And then the officer, keeps saying, taser, I'm going to tase you, taser, taser, taser. But she doesn't have a taser in her hand. How is that possible? What's the training? What's the difference there, Anthony, between the taser and your service weapon?
You know, that's what we're gonna have to look at. We're gonna have to look at the training manuals, the use of force, the training, the policies, and even the arrangement of the gun belt. You know, when I was in law enforcement, that was prior to the actual training of use of force. I never had a taser, but you know, looking at that video, it seems like there's a problem with hands-on. The first thing that officer, the very first officer, he was I'm talking about me. You hit that door release button. You move that's your suspect away from the vehicle. You could even close the door, but you're eliminating him to have control of the vehicle. When you hit that button, you're allowing the other officer on the other side if he has to go and get keys, he could look for weapons, right? She's supposed to engage. You put hands on, secure your prisoner, and you call for your patrol wagon to transport your suspect, and everybody goes home healthy.
Mike, a lot of people are shocked tonight that we are talking about an officer, 26 years, not a rookie, 26 years, and is saying taser, taser, taser while she has her service weapon in her hand. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, this is a complete breakdown, and it is so tragic. I can't imagine what this officer is going through, but that's overshadowed incredibly by what this family is going through and the people who witnessed this. Things got out of hand really quickly, and you know you can see the difference in the taser, even when the officer who's to the right of this officer who shoots Daunte. You can see that yellow band poking out, and that's the butt of that taser. It's very clear. They're identified differently. They weigh differently. They should be in a non-strong hand side of the duty belt so that they are never confused. But something terrible broke down here, Vinnie. Boy.
Yeah, it's incredibly tragic. And there you see Daunte Wright with his son in that photo that we're looking at. All right, now there's another part to this story. There's the shooting, then there are the protests and the demonstrations, and then things got out of control. There's now a curfew in place, and Matt Langer from the Minnesota State Patrol was talking about what happened last night.
Our mobile field force commander actually met with one of the individuals on the scene about 7 o'clock and tried to talk about how we could do this peacefully tonight without the use of any chemical munitions, without the use of any enforcement. And unfortunately, those efforts weren't successful, and those organizers weren't able to influence the desires of the crowd to leave. There were a few officers involved with the incident that were hit by some debris and suffered just real minor injuries. We're not aware of any protesters that were injured, and order was restored for the most part. There were some occurrences of looting around the Brooklyn Center area in the city of Minneapolis. It was pretty limited and sporadic in nature, and the Operation Safety Net team was able to respond quickly and quell those areas and take people into custody where they could.
Mike, what we're seeing right now is a repeat. We saw a lot of this during the summer after the death of George Floyd in cities across the nation. So let's talk about, you've got a curfew, you're trying to enforce it, the people are protesting you as the police, so it's a really tense situation all the way around. What's the best way to handle all of this peacefully?
You know, I think you've got to get out in front of it really quickly. And I'm not going to be critical in saying this, but it's not at 7 o'clock at night. It's moving as quickly as you can. I think getting with the faith-based community and seeing if you can get the support of pastors and clergy, if you can get out and really talk to the community before this thing gets completely spun up, because this is a lot of emotion that's been building and building, and this teapot is boiled over.
Yeah, Anthony, we're in the middle of Derek Chauvin's trial for the murder of George Floyd. We've got the shooting death 10 miles from downtown Minneapolis. Tension is absolutely high, but there's a curfew in place, and police, who are the ones being protested, are the ones who have to enforce this curfew somehow.
You know, Vinnie, it's so unfortunate, but you have two different elements that are out there And in the midst of all this, in the daytime, you have the lawful protesters, you have the religious community, you have the moms, you have the people from all walks of life, and they want a change for all. At night, you have the criminal element that's going to come out and wreak havoc. And we're just have to board up businesses, the National Guard. It's unfortunate, but these things have gone so long in law enforcement. So now we're trying to kind of play catch up. But it's so unfortunate, just like the people at the insurrectionists, they were there, criminals. That doesn't represent Republicans, and they need to be treated just as the same.
All right, our experts stay with us. We've got more Crime Time straight ahead, plus this.
I'm Julia Janae in downtown Minneapolis, where it's day 12 of the case against former officer Derek Chauvin. The state has rested its case, and the defense has begun calling its witnesses, trying to convince this jury that there is reasonable doubt. We'll bring you the very latest from inside the courtroom.
And tonight's 13th juror question: do you think the shooting death of Daunte Wright was accidental? Go to our Facebook pages and tell us what you think.
Keep your hands where I can see them. Okay? Put them up on the dash. Put them on the dash. Don't shoot me, sir. Please don't shoot me. I'm not going to shoot you. Put your hands on the dash.
That video shown to the jury today in the trial of Derek Chauvin as the defense began presenting their evidence. That's an arrest of George Floyd from 2019. We're in our Crime Time segment. Still with us, Anthony Ested, retired police officer, retired police commander Mike King, also with us. I want to show you the video because this was shown to the jury today. It goes back to 2019. This is the arrest of George Floyd, who this time is in the passenger's seat. Let's take a look.
Can you undo your seatbelt, sir? Sir, passenger, can you undo your seatbelt? Go ahead and undo your seatbelt. Please, I don't want to get shot. I don't plan on shooting you. I'm just saying, just take your time. I ain't never seen him. Okay, relax. Just undo your seatbelt. Let her take care of her guy. Just keep your hands out where I can see him. Hey! Let me. Keep your hands where I can see them. Okay? Put them up on the dash. Put them on the dash. Don't shoot me, sir. Please don't shoot me. I'm not going to shoot you. Put your hands on the dash. Okay. Put your hands on the dash. The last time I'm going to tell you that. It's simple. I got you. He keeps moving his hands around. Yes, sir. He won't listen to what I have to say. There you go, right there. Put your hands on your head. What y'all doing? Put them on your head.
Top of your head.
Okay, man.
Open your mouth. Spit out what you got. Spit out what you got. I'm going to tase you. Spit it out. He's eating.
Don't you jerk away from me.
That was one yellow pill. Put your hands behind your back.
That was one yellow pill, boss. Yeah. Okay, now slowly come on out.
Damn, man.
Hand under put your hand under your head.
Hands underneath your back.
Okay, relax then. You're not going to get beat up or nothing if you just follow what we're asking you to do.
I apologize, sir, man. I apologize, man.
All right, Anthony said, I want to start here with the officer who's approaching and speaking with George Floyd. The tone, it starts off very quiet, talking about the seatbelt, builds in intensity to the point that he is screaming at George Floyd. Explain what's going on there and what you think about it.
Vinnie, you can show the last 5 traffic stops of George Floyd. You can show the last 5 traffic stops of me dealing with individuals. I'm the trained professional. I am trained to deal with people who have mental problems, drugs, PCP, this, that. It doesn't matter. You can't justify the use of force. It has to be commensurate with what you're dealing with. So, it looks like a fishing expedition to me as far as the defense is concerned.
Mike, what do you explain what's happening here with the officer as he approaches the passenger side, and he starts, the voice is kind of like this with the seatbelt, and then escalates to a much louder, forceful tone.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Anthony's perspective because they do start out very calm, and it starts to escalate rather quickly. And use of force is a reactionary sport, Vinny, and it's got to be based on that resistance escalating. And this thing ramps up pretty darn fast, and that's a little bit troubling. Again, I don't know if there's more to this story than we're seeing in the video. But what happens if you run out of orders at that point? When you get to that point so quickly? I mean, just seems like we made a real fast jump from A to Z.
Anthony, the other part, the reason the defense put this in is George Floyd is ingesting drugs as police are approaching and speaking with him. Yeah. What do you do in a situation when you see that happening?
You use the proper amount of force, and if necessary, if you have to summons medical assistance, because you have to figure out what type of state of mind this individual in. Are they sick? Are they unconscious? Are they very combative? But this situation, it just varies so much with drugs and all the various types of drugs that people ingest in their system.
All right, we're out of time for tonight, but Anthony Ested, Mike King, great having you both with us tonight. We appreciate it. Please come back soon.
Thanks, Vinnie. Hey, thanks for watching. I really look forward to seeing your comments below. And here's a question I have for each of you. Number one, do you think that the police officer intended to shoot Daunte Wright, or was it a horrible accident? And then I'd also like to know how you think the first day in the defense's chance at trial went. Were the witnesses convincing, or are you still of the same opinions that you've had for a number of days? I really look forward to seeing your comments down below, and I want to thank you for supporting Profiling Evil. Hey, and if you haven't, check out our Profiling Evil podcasts and Mapping Evil with Mike King on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you soon at the next Profiling Evil event or the next crime scene.